Ladies and gentlemen, there is a special time in every day when the world is quiet, the air is crisp, and the heart is most receptive to the mercy and blessings of Allah. That time is Fajr. The Prophet ﷺ emphasized the blessings of the early morning, teaching us that those who rise for Fajr and engage with Allah in sincerity are the ones who draw the attention of the heavens. Fajr is not just a prayer, it is a gateway to mercy, guidance, and provision. When the world is still asleep, the angels are recording deeds, and Allah's mercy is descending. This is why the early morning has the power to shift your entire day, your fortune, and even the trajectory of your rizq. The first habit is gratitude upon waking. Before speaking to anyone or checking your phone, take a moment to thank Allah for life, health, and the chance to see a new day. The Qur'an reminds us that gratitude unlocks blessings. A heart that starts the day in acknowledgement of Allah's generosity is a heart that is ready to receive more. Imagine the heart as a vessel. If it begins the morning full of praise, it can carry even greater blessings, including unexpected rizq. Gratitude clears your mind from the weight of yesterday's worries and aligns your soul with Allah's mercy. The second habit is dua after Fajr. This is a time when the sky is attentive to the calls of the faithful. The Prophet ﷺ said that the supplications made in the early morning are accepted before the day even begins. When you ask Allah with sincerity, whether for sustenance, guidance, or protection, you are speaking to the one who owns the heavens and the earth. Real-life examples show people who, after establishing a consistent Fajr dua habit, began to see doors open that had long been closed. A job they thought impossible suddenly came through. Financial relief arrived in unexpected ways, or guidance led them to an opportunity they never imagined. Allah listens to the quiet sincerity of the morning heart and acts with precision. The third habit is recitation of Qur'an after Fajr. Even a few verses read with focus can transform your day. The words of Allah carry energy, healing, and blessings. When recited in the quiet of dawn, they penetrate the heart in a way that is almost tangible. The Qur'an reminds us that those who turn to Him early and sincerely are guided, protected, and provided for. The light of the morning, the stillness, and the presence of angels amplify the impact of your recitation. People who made it a habit to recite after Fajr describe sudden clarity in their decisions, unexpected opportunities, and a deep sense of peace that allowed them to act with confidence in pursuing their rizq. Allah sends signs when your heart is ready. Perhaps you feel subtle guidance, a sudden idea, or a chance meeting that seems coincidental but is truly divine orchestration. These are reminders that your efforts in the early morning are noticed, and the timing of blessings is being arranged perfectly. Fajr is the perfect time to align your heart with Allah's plan, to open your mind to His signs, and to prepare yourself for the rizq He is sending. When these habits are performed consistently, they cultivate trust, patience, and surrender. You learn that the universe is not a place of random chance, but a reflection of Allah's careful planning. By rising early, thanking Him, making dua, and reciting the Qur'an, you place yourself in a state where His provision flows naturally. You begin to understand that rizq is not just earned through work or effort alone, but through alignment with the one who controls all things. The morning becomes a sanctuary, a launchpad for divine blessings, and a way to experience the immediate impact of faith in action. The early morning, particularly the time of Fajr, holds a unique and powerful place in the life of a believer. It is a time when the world is still asleep, the air is crisp and fresh, and the soul is most receptive to the blessings and mercy of Allah. There is a serenity in the silence of dawn that cannot be found at any other time of day, a stillness that allows the heart to connect with its Creator without distraction. The Qur'an repeatedly reminds us that Allah's angels are awake even while the world sleeps, recording deeds, praising Him, and seeking His mercy. This is why the early morning has such a profound spiritual significance, not just for acts of worship, but also as a time when the doors of rizq, guidance, and protection are opened in ways the heart can feel before the mind even understands it. The Prophet ﷺ emphasized the value of rising for Fajr, teaching that those who do so are under the protection and mercy of Allah, and are blessed throughout their day in ways that often remain unseen. The time before sunrise is a sacred window when the soul is aligned with the divine rhythm, a moment when sincere devotion can ripple outward into every area of a person's life. Rising for Fajr is more than merely performing a ritual prayer. It is an act of prioritizing Allah above all worldly comforts, of asserting that your relationship with Him is more important than sleep, distractions, or any immediate desire. The physical act of leaving the warmth of one's bed, of standing in submission to Allah while the world remains in slumber, is symbolic of a deeper spiritual awakening. It shows a heart that is willing to make small sacrifices for the sake of trust, discipline, and connection with the one who provides all sustenance. This willingness alone is a magnet for rizq, because Allah loves the heart that seeks Him earnestly. By starting the day with Fajr, the believer demonstrates that their reliance is not on the uncertainty of the world, but on the certainty of Allah's provision and care. The act itself creates an atmosphere of spiritual readiness, a mindset that is attentive, hopeful, and open to receiving blessings in all forms, whether material, emotional, or spiritual. Fajr also establishes a rhythm of mindfulness that influences the rest of the day. Those who consistently rise early often experience increased focus, clarity, and energy for the tasks that lie ahead. The calm of the morning allows the heart to set intentions, to seek forgiveness, to express gratitude, and to make dua without the rush, noise, or stress that later hours bring. In this way, the spiritual benefits of Fajr translate directly into practical advantages: a clear mind, a prepared heart, and a sense of purpose that attracts opportunities and solutions that might otherwise go unnoticed. The early morning acts as a spiritual and mental reset, clearing away doubts, worries, and distractions that accumulate over time. When a believer begins their day in this state, they are more likely to recognize signs from Allah, act decisively on opportunities, and remain patient and trusting even when challenges arise, because their foundation has been anchored in divine alignment. The significance of Fajr extends beyond individual benefit. It sets a tone of submission and reliance on Allah that radiates outward. Angels witness this act of devotion, and their presence is a source of protection and intercession. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned that those who pray Fajr are under the care of Allah and the angels throughout their day, and that their deeds are elevated before the creation awakens. This creates a spiritual environment where divine support is already in motion before the believer even begins interacting with the world. Opportunities, solutions, guidance, and provisions are arranged by Allah for those who embrace this sacred time, and the blessings often appear in unexpected ways, from directions the heart cannot anticipate. Rising for Fajr is not just about performing an act of worship. It is about positioning oneself to witness and receive the unfolding of Allah's mercy, a time when faith, effort, and divine favor converge to open the doors of rizq, clarity, and success in ways that are immediate, subtle, and transformative. The second keynote focuses on three simple yet transformative habits to perform after Fajr, habits that carry profound spiritual and practical impact, and have the power to reshape your day, your mindset, and even the trajectory of your rizq. The first habit is expressing gratitude immediately upon waking. As soon as you open your eyes, before the distractions of the world take hold, before you check your phone, messages, or even your schedule, take a moment to recognize the mercy and favor of Allah in granting you another day. Gratitude is not merely a polite acknowledgement. It is a recognition of Allah's continuous provision in every aspect of your life, from the air in your lungs to the opportunities that await you. When you begin your day with sincere gratitude, your heart attunes itself to abundance, not lack. Gratitude expands your perception of wealth and provision, because it trains your mind to see what you already have, making it easier for Allah to increase it. The Qur'an emphasizes that those who are grateful receive even more favor, and this morning acknowledgement serves as a key that unlocks blessings that might otherwise remain inaccessible, because the heart was closed to them. The second habit is dua immediately after Fajr, a moment when supplications are particularly powerful. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned that the early morning hours carry a special closeness to Allah, and dua during this time is often accepted before the day even begins. When you sit in the quiet, with the world around you still sleeping, and speak to Allah with humility and sincerity, you are participating in a divine exchange where your heart communicates directly with the source of all provision. Dua after Fajr should be personal, heartfelt, and reflective. It is the moment to articulate your needs, your hopes, and even your fears to the one who already knows them. Real-life stories demonstrate that people who consistently engage in this practice experience remarkable shifts in their circumstances. A student praying for guidance before an exam may suddenly find clarity in their studies. A parent seeking sustenance for their family might receive unexpected financial assistance. Someone seeking direction in their career may encounter an opportunity that seemed impossible the day before. The power of dua after Fajr lies not in the words themselves, but in the alignment of your heart with Allah's will, opening the channels through which rizq and blessings flow. The third habit is recitation of the Qur'an after Fajr, even if it is just a few verses. The early morning is the perfect environment for reflection and absorption of the Qur'an's guidance. The verses of Allah carry inherent energy, healing, and clarity, and when read at dawn, they penetrate the heart in a way that resonates deeply, often providing insight and inspiration that sets the tone for the entire day. The Qur'an itself promises guidance mercy and provision for those who turn to it sincerely, and the early morning magnifies its effect because the heart is less cluttered, more open, and more receptive. Many believers have experienced that when they make it a habit to recite the Quran after Fajr, they begin to notice subtle shifts. Problems that seemed overwhelming become manageable, inspiration for solutions appears seemingly out of nowhere, and the sense of calm and trust in Allah's plan grows stronger. This habit also cultivates discipline, mindfulness, and a connection to the divine rhythm of life, reinforcing the spiritual and practical benefits of rising early. These three habits, gratitude, dua, and Quran recitation, complement one another perfectly. Gratitude tunes the heart to abundance, dua creates direct communication with Allah's mercy, and Quran recitation aligns the mind and spirit with divine guidance. Together they form a triad that transforms not just the morning, but the entire day. When performed consistently, these simple acts after Fajr prepare the believer to recognize and receive Allah's blessings, to notice opportunities that might otherwise pass unnoticed, and to act with clarity, patience, and confidence in the unfolding of divine provision. The early morning becomes more than just a time of prayer, it becomes a sanctuary for spiritual growth, a launchpad for divine blessings, and a catalyst for instant and sustained expansion of rizq. Real-life stories often illustrate the profound impact that small consistent Fajr habits can have on a person's rizq and overall well-being. These stories are not just inspiring, they serve as evidence that Allah's mercy operates in subtle, precise, and often unexpected ways when a believer aligns their actions with His guidance. Take for instance the story of a young man who had been struggling to find employment for months. Despite sending countless applications and attending interviews, nothing seemed to work. Frustration and worry had begun to overwhelm him, yet he decided to commit to a simple Fajr routine, gratitude upon waking, heartfelt dua, and a brief recitation of the Quran each morning. Within a few weeks, not only did he feel a renewed sense of hope and mental clarity, but he also began to notice opportunities he had previously overlooked. A chance conversation at a coffee shop led to a recommendation for a position he had almost given up on, and the doors that had seemed closed for so long suddenly opened. The shift did not occur because of chance or mere effort. It occurred because his heart, aligned with Allah's mercy during the sacred hours of Fajr, became receptive to the provision that had already been written for him. Another example comes from the life of a mother struggling to make ends meet while caring for her family. Every day felt like a battle with time, energy, and resources, and she often feared that her efforts were insufficient. One morning, she decided to dedicate just a few minutes after Fajr to recite Qur'anic verses and make sincere dua for her family's provision. She did not expect immediate change, but over time, she noticed small yet significant shifts. A neighbor offered help unexpectedly, a forgotten payment arrived, and an opportunity for additional income presented itself without her having to chase it. These occurrences, which she initially might have labeled as coincidence, were in fact manifestations of Allah's mercy responding to the sincerity and consistency of her morning routine. The subtle guidance and provision she experienced reinforced her trust in Allah and motivated her to maintain her Fajr habits with devotion and patience. There are also countless stories of students and professionals who attribute sudden clarity, breakthroughs, or opportunities to their Fajr routines. A student who had been struggling with understanding complex material began to experience moments of insight after committing to short Quran recitations and dua after Fajr. These breakthroughs not only improved academic performance, but also instilled a sense of calm and confidence that had been missing. Similarly, a professional who had been stagnant in their career noticed that after establishing a consistent Fajr routine, doors for promotion and new responsibilities began to appear organically. In these examples, the common factor is the combination of sincerity, consistency, and timing. Performing these acts at a moment when the heavens are most attentive to the supplications and worship of the believer. Even small, seemingly insignificant practices can have enormous ripple effects. A person who spends just 10 minutes after Fajr in reflection, gratitude, and dua often finds that their decisions throughout the day are clearer, their interactions more harmonious, and their ability to recognize opportunities sharper. The morning becomes a lens through which they perceive their environment differently, noticing paths and options they had previously ignored. In every story, the lesson is clear. The alignment of heart, intention, and divine timing is far more powerful than the mere accumulation of effort. Allah's mercy is not limited by human perception of time or effort. It flows to those who prepare their hearts and remain consistent in sincere worship and supplication.
These real-life examples highlight that when a believer embraces Fajr habits, they are not only performing acts of worship but are actively preparing themselves to receive Rizq in its fullest form. The combination of gratitude, dua, and Qur'anic recitation creates an environment where spiritual receptivity meets divine provision. The changes may be subtle at first, but over time they compound, transforming not only material circumstances, but also the mindset, faith, and resilience of the individual, creating a life that is attuned to the signs, guidance, and blessings of Allah, in ways that are tangible, immediate, and deeply sustaining. Recognizing the signs that Allah sends after Fajr is a crucial part of understanding how divine provision and guidance unfold in our lives. These signs are rarely dramatic. They are subtle, gentle nudges that point us toward opportunities, solutions, and blessings that have already been written for us. One of the first signs is a shift in your inner state, a sudden sense of calm, clarity, or renewed hope that occurs without any external trigger. This feeling is not random. It is the heart responding to the alignment created by your Fajr habits. When you start the day with gratitude, sincere dua, and Quranic recitation, your heart enters a state of receptivity that allows you to notice possibilities that might have been invisible before. Small inspirations, ideas, or moments of clarity that arrive after Fajr are often the earliest indicators that Allah is preparing your path for provision and guidance. Another sign is the way interactions with others begin to change. You may notice that conversations you once found frustrating become productive, that opportunities to collaborate appear unexpectedly, or that people begin to offer help without being asked. These are manifestations of Allah's arrangement in your life, responding to your sincerity and consistency during the early morning hours. For example, someone who consistently engages in Fajr dua may suddenly encounter a mentor, a colleague, or even a stranger who provides advice, connections, or resources that facilitate their progress. These subtle interactions, which could easily be dismissed as coincidence, are in reality the orchestration of divine mercy, paving the way for rizq in forms that go beyond material provision and include guidance, support, and timely intervention. Signs also appear in the form of opportunities and circumstances that align with your needs. Perhaps a job posting appears at exactly the moment you needed it, a financial opportunity presents itself through an unexpected channel, or a solution to a persistent problem becomes clear. These events often occur seamlessly, without effort that could account for their timing or magnitude. The heart that has been prepared through Fajr practices is able to recognize and act upon these openings, demonstrating that provision is not solely dependent on human effort, but is intertwined with divine timing. Recognizing these signs requires mindfulness, the ability to notice when doors are opening and when guidance is being offered, and a heart attuned to Allah's mercy and wisdom. Even small changes in your perspective or intuition can be considered signs. You may feel a gentle nudge to act in a certain way, to make a decision differently, or to pause before taking an action. This inner guidance often precedes tangible manifestations of rizq and can prevent missed opportunities or missteps. For instance, someone may feel compelled to reach out to a friend or mentor after Fajr, only to discover that this communication results in an unexpected opportunity or solution. These moments demonstrate that Allah's signs are not always external. They are woven into your awareness, directing you toward what has been destined for you. Another important indicator is the presence of ease in your day after Fajr. Tasks that once felt overwhelming may suddenly seem manageable, decisions that were confusing may become clear, and challenges may feel lighter. This ease is a reflection of Allah's mercy, preparing your mind, heart, and circumstances to receive what He has written for you. It is a reminder that true rizq is not limited to material wealth, but includes clarity, support, opportunity, and peace of heart. The signs you notice after Fajr are both preparatory and confirmatory. Preparatory because they ready your heart and environment to receive provision, and confirmatory because they show that Allah's plan is already in motion, and that your sincere devotion and alignment with Him are effective channels for blessing. The key is to remain attentive, reflective, and grateful, noticing the subtle ways in which Allah orchestrates your life after Fajr. These signs encourage patience, trust, and continued devotion, reinforcing that divine provision is not random, but is intimately tied to sincerity, timing, and the alignment of your heart with Allah's will. Surrender, trust, and consistency are the cornerstones of receiving Allah's provision, and they become particularly powerful when practiced after Fajr. When a believer aligns their heart with Allah through gratitude, dua, and Quranic recitation, they begin to cultivate a level of surrender that allows them to release anxiety, doubt, and the compulsion to control every aspect of their life. Surrender does not mean passivity. It means actively placing trust in the one who orchestrates all affairs, recognizing that human effort alone cannot replace divine will. A heart that surrenders after Fajr acknowledges that Allah sees what we cannot, knows what we do not, and arranges circumstances with perfect wisdom. This surrender allows the believer to act confidently, to make decisions guided by clarity rather than fear, and to pursue goals without being weighed down by uncertainty or desperation. It transforms the morning act of worship into a catalyst for the entire day, creating a mindset that attracts and recognizes the blessings that Allah had already written. Trust is inseparable from surrender. After performing the Fajr acts of devotion, the believer is encouraged to place complete reliance on Allah for the fulfillment of their needs. Trust means believing not only that Allah is capable of providing but also that He knows the timing, form and magnitude of the provision that is best suited for the individual. Many people rush, push or worry about results because their trust is incomplete. Yet when trust is cultivated, particularly in the serenity of the early morning hours, it transforms the way a person engages with the world. Decisions are made with clarity, interactions with others carry purpose, and challenges that once caused despair become opportunities for growth. Trust amplifies the impact of Fajr devotion because it aligns the believer's expectations with Allah's plan, making it easier to recognize signs, opportunities and guidance as they manifest. Consistency after Fajr is equally important. The repeated practice of gratitude, dua, and Qur'anic recitation reinforces the connection between the heart and Allah. Over time, consistency trains the heart to remain receptive to divine guidance, even during challenging circumstances. It establishes a rhythm in which the believer's reliance on Allah is strengthened, and their capacity to perceive His signs is heightened. Many real-life examples show that those who maintain a consistent Fajr routine experience incremental yet transformative changes in their rizq. A single day of devotion may not produce visible results, but over weeks and months, patterns of guidance, opportunity and provision begin to appear. The cumulative effect of consistent early morning worship demonstrates that divine provision responds not only to need but also to devotion, patience, and the readiness of the heart. Surrender, trust and consistency after Fajr also create a protective environment for the believer. Anxiety, fear and impatience can obscure opportunities, distort judgment, and create unnecessary obstacles. When these qualities are cultivated, the believer is better able to navigate life with awareness and resilience. Opportunities that may have been missed due to doubt or distraction are now more likely to be recognized and seized. Relationships, finances, career paths, and personal growth are all influenced by the alignment of the heart with Allah's guidance. The early morning devotion serves as a reset point, allowing the believer to release past regrets, future fears, and the need for immediate control, entering the day with clarity, purpose and readiness for divine provision. Finally, surrender, trust and consistency create a state of spiritual magnetism that attracts rizq in ways both tangible and intangible. Material opportunities, emotional support, guidance, and personal growth all flow more readily to hearts that have been trained through Fajr devotion. When a believer consistently begins their day with gratitude, dua, and Qur'anic recitation, and couples these practices with complete trust in Allah's plan, they position themselves to receive blessings in a manner that is immediate, transformative, and often beyond their imagination. This alignment demonstrates that the true power of rizq is not merely in human effort, but in the convergence of devotion, reliance and divine will, and that the early morning holds the key to unlocking this profound and comprehensive form of provision.